Senator Angela Alsobrooks just dismantled RFK Jr. with his own words. She had the receipts, recordings, transcripts, facts. He denied saying black kids should be sent to wellness farms. She had the tape. He couldn't name the office that prevents babies from dying in their sleep. She told him, it's the one he fired everyone from. He couldn't say men don't get pregnant. She said his views are dangerous. She will vote against his nomination. The American people deserve better. Let's watch.
Senator Alsobrooks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I'm over here. I've been sitting through this hearing all day today and have noted that you've been unable, in most instances, to answer any specific questions relating to your agency.
Because I haven't been given time.
Well, no, you have been given time, but the point of the matter is you've been unable to answer specific questions. Sir, you are the wrong person for this job, and you had in this hearing today the unmitigated gall to say at the beginning of your testimony that China is ahead of the United States in healthcare because China does not have DEI.
I didn't say that.
Well, we can roll back the tape. You absolutely did.
And you will find I didn't say that.
That is absolutely what you said.
I was talking about science, and I didn't say they're ahead of us. They're ahead of us in some forms of science, certainly not in healthcare.
Well, we can roll back the tape, but nonetheless, let me go on with my questions and ask you this. You just heard about the Safe to Sleep campaign, and you have made cuts. You made it very clear here today. You have no knowledge whatsoever of the absolutely amazing scientists and researchers who you have callously fired. You know nothing about the cuts.
You didn't fire any working scientists, Senator.
That, sir, is not true either. But nonetheless,
it is true.
It is not true. Let me ask you another specific question. The Safe to Sleep campaign. Well, then can you name, sir, which office the Safe to Sleep campaign operates out of?
The which campaign?
Well, that's the one that the senator just asked you about 2 minutes ago that prevents babies from dying in their sleep. A 30-year program inside your agency. You would agree that it's important.
I think it's part of HRSA or ACF. It's ACF.
No, actually, it's in Health and Human Services.
Yeah.
And I think, and again,
no, they're all within Health and Human Services, but the subdivision is ACF.
No, actually, the name of the
Administration of Children and Families.
No, let me tell you what it is. The National Institute of Child Health and Human Development. This is actually the one that your aunt, Eunice Kennedy Shriver, is the person who it's named after. And you noted just a moment ago, the senator reminded you that although this is a very important agency, prevents babies from dying, this is the same one you fired every single person in this office as of April the 1st. It is also,
as I said, there were no working scientists fired during the RIF.
We can bring you that information later, but because what you just said is not true. Well, then the question also is, in addition to firing the individuals who make sure babies don't die in their sleep, why did you cut funding and staff from the CDC's National Center on Birth Defects and Developmental Disabilities, which supports the Special Olympics? Was that a mistake? I've heard you say you've made some mistakes today. Was that also a mistake?
We switched those programs to the Administration for Healthy America. They have not been cut.
Well, the funding has been cut, and this is one that oversaw the Special Olympics. Are you aware of that?
We have not cut the Special Olympics.
You've cut the funding, and you also dismantled the Division of Reproductive Health and Women's Health and Fertility. You're aware of that, right?
We have, right now, we have 42 divisions that do maternal health, and we're consolidating them. And the mainstream media has portrayed those as cuts, but they're not cuts, they're consolidations. It's ridiculous to have 42 divisions that are all supposed to be doing the same thing with their own administrators.
Well, let me ask you a question. So it doesn't exist right now. It's been dismantled. That is a fact. That particular division, what you plan to do in the
There's 42 divisions on maternal health. We consolidated.
Sir, let me finish what I'm saying here. The fact of the matter is you have dismantled it as we speak. And are you aware, what does the assisted reproductive technology mean to you? Are you familiar with that?
Are you talking about IVF?
Well, it's assisted reproductive technology. It's a division. Do you know what it does?
The Is it part of NIH?
No, it's actually a part of your agency. It's a
Oh,
part.
NIH is part of my agency, Senator. You should know that.
I do know that, but it's actually a part of, it's the CDC is where it is.
Okay, then it's CDC.
Right, okay. Let me just ask you, and again, these are all of the things you seem unfamiliar with, the ones, the programs that you've cut.
You're unfamiliar with my agency, that NIH and CDC are part of HHS.
Oh, I absolutely know. NIH is in my county. I was there this past weekend with the researchers that you have fired. So I absolutely know where NIH is, sir, and don't need any help from you in knowing that. I see the time. Thank you.
Senator Alsobrooks.
Thank you so much, Chair Cassidy, for hosting today's hearing. Dr. Means, welcome. Thank you so much for being at this hearing, and congratulations again on your beautiful, beautiful baby. I want to first begin by the places where we agree. The industry, you agree that industry should not have undue influence over our health policies. In fact, you have written that when pharmaceutical companies have a direct line to network television through advertising, and I quote, you say they can have influence over what messages are emphasized on the news and what is deemed misinformation or truth. Now, can you confirm that those are your words?
That sounds like something I would say.
I'm sorry?
That sounds like something I would say.
Okay, perfect. And I also want to confirm again that you have been compensated. Have you ever been compensated for platforming, spotlighting, or highlighting companies in your newsletters or podcast appearances?
Yes.
Okay, so for example,
Podcast, but in my newsletter, I've had newsletter sponsors for my newsletter, yes.
okay, for example, Energy Bits. Have you received compensation from a company called Energy Bits?
Yes.
Okay, and in your newsletter, the very same one where you rail out against pharmaceutical advertising, you acknowledge that Energy Bits sponsored your newsletters. And I wonder, were you aware that the Better Business Bureau found that that company, Energy Bits, failed to provide substantiation for health-related and environmental claims and recommended that it discontinue doing so?
Senator Alsobrooks, I take conflicts very seriously. I've worked diligently with the Office of Government Ethics to make sure we've looked at all potential conflicts of interest, have signed a letter, had been cleared, and have signed a letter stating my commitment to divestments. And of course, during my time, if I am confirmed in office, I would take no money from any company.
Let me, Dr. Means, let me just add a little bit more here. I know the time is tolling. Were you aware that this same company was served notice under California's Proposition 65 law alleging that their products contain lead above the allowable levels? Were you aware of that?
Again, I just want to reiterate, in this office, I will not be taking any financial compensation from any companies. I will be complying with the Office of Government Ethics thoroughly before, during, and after my time in office, and I'm very committed to that.
Okay, let me ask you about another company. Have you ever received compensation from a company called Peak?
Yes.
Okay, and in your newsletter number 33, you acknowledge that Peak has sponsored you. Now, were you aware that this company was served notice under California's Proposition 65 for containing and failing to disclose that lead above the allowable amounts, a carcinogen and reproductive toxin, was present?
I just want to repeat, I've worked with the Office of Government Ethics. I am not going to be taking any
Okay,
financial
but we're talking about just the ones you've already, so this is an
we're
ethics.
talking about conflicts. And I have been cleared by the Office of Government Ethics through an exhaustive process. I have signed a letter that I will be fully compliant. And this is before, during, and after the term. I take it very seriously, and I'll work closely with them to make sure there are no conflicts.
The point here is that you've received compensation from these companies, including Daily Harvest, where this company was subject to an investigation by the Food and Drug Administration after hundreds became seriously ill after consuming the product. And these are companies that you have received money from. They've been investigated, and you are railing out against pharmaceutical companies that you say are advertising these products that mislead the public, and yet you've received compensation from companies, and you've promoted them in your newsletter, and you're doing the same thing the pharmaceutical companies are doing by advertising and influencing people for these products that have been deemed to be unsafe for the public. Now, let me just move on as well to vaccinations. I want to just, you tweeted that you believe the hepatitis B vaccine at birth is a crime. That is what you tweeted. Do you recall tweeting that?
That is not the full tweet.
I actually do have the tweet. I can provide it for you. I have a copy of it here where you say that vaccinating, that you believe the hepatitis B vaccine is a crime. And I wonder if you believe that, how is it that vaccinating children against hepatitis could be a crime?
I support vaccines. I believe vaccines save lives. I believe they're a key part of our public health strategy. I also believe that this administration is committing to making sure we have the safest vaccine schedule in the world, and that we are continually studying the vaccine schedule, vaccine injuries, making sure we're eradicating conflicts of interest in vaccine research and doing gold standard science on vaccines. These are all things that I support. And I think there's a nuanced conversation that American families are looking to have about shared clinical decision-making with their doctors about specific vaccines that their children may not be as seriously at risk for. And I think that that is the nature and the thrust of my comments.
Well, let me just follow. I know my time has expired. You have spoke on this panel about neurotoxin metals and vaccinations, yet you have promoted through a brief research. Okay, just this last sentence here. You've, through a brief search of the products that you've made money off of in your newsletters, many of them have been found to contain the same neurotoxins that you claim are in these vaccinations. I yield. You're familiar with Aaron Siri, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay, that's because he served both as your lawyer in your personal capacity, and he's a lawyer for an anti-vaccine group as well. Is Mr. Siri on the federal government payroll?
No, he is not.
No, he's not. Okay, so that I find that interesting because he is apparently having a really outsized influence on you. And in fact, according to her testimony, Dr. Monterez last August said that during a very contentious argument with you or conversation that you told her to talk to Mr. Siri so that she could fall in line with his vaccine policies. You let him present to your now illegal and discredited vaccination committee. And then this month, you signed an updated charter for the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices to focus on vaccine risk after Aaron Siri urged you to do so. So, you know, despite him not being on the government payroll, it looks like he is clearly, for you, he's a top advisor in your agency. Now, last month, Mr. Siri threatened to sue you if you didn't add hundreds of health conditions to the vaccine injury compensation programs. And just like that, you removed members of the Advisory Commission on Childhood Vaccinations to pave the way for changes. So I just have to ask you, Mr. Secretary, who is running this department? Is Aaron Siri running the department? Are you running the department?
Oh, ASIP has nothing to do with the vaccine court. Nothing.
No, just the questions. Is he running the department? Are you running the department? This Aaron Siri guy has a huge, apparently, influence.
Yeah, you're just filled with mischaracterizations. If you want to ask me about something, I will. But
well, let me just ask you this. And so, Mr. Siri,
you're going to talk and you're going to grandstand, but you're not going to get at the truth.
Well, Mr. Siri is actually, he's gone public with the whole thing now. He's on X, and he said, that he's actually trying to pressure you to immediately change your vaccine policies. In fact, he wrote on X, "I have no doubt RFK Jr., this is his quote, wants to update the table, and the only reason that he wouldn't is because the White House won't let him." So is the White House preventing you from updating the VSIP table?
Aaron Siri is an American citizen. He has a right to say what he wants.
He does. I'm just asking you, is the White House preventing you from updating this? Is Mr. Siri correct about that?
Updating the vaccine
table?
No, they are not.
Okay. Now, regarding the new CDC director nominee, part of the new team that you said would revolutionize the CDC, Mr. Siri said that the pick will likely be a disaster, and has said the only thing that Schwartz will likely restore is the CDC to business as usual. He said that this is his quote, "left to your own devices, you wouldn't have even chosen her," and that she is, and I quote Mr. Siri here, "the queen of mandating vaccines." So is Aaron Siri wrong about this new nominee, or is the president?
Well, I guess Aaron Siri doesn't have much influence on me after all, does he? So you can't have it both ways of saying he has an outside influence on our department.
Oh, is he right? I'm just asking a question.
He's suing me and criticizing me or something that he for a policy that I've made that he doesn't like. So does he have an outside influence or not?
Well, he
Because
said,
you're arguing out of
let me go
both
to my
sides of
next
your
question.
mouth.
Mr. Secretary, my next question. Now, you've had some trouble with the truth. I've seen it myself during
What?
your appearances before Congress. And as we all saw clearly during your exchange last week with Congresswoman Sewell, can you admit today that you said every Black kid can get reparented on a wellness farm? Can you admit that you said that?
Didn't get reparented on a wellness.
Well, let me read exactly what you said. You said every Black kid is now just standard, put on Adderall, on SSRIs, benzos, which are known to induce violence, and those kids are going to have a chance to go somewhere and get reparented, to live in a community where there'll be no cell phones, no screens. You know, you claimed, in fact, you went on to say, actually the whole transcript was even worse. You said that if you could, you would send, quote, every Black kid, again, your words, not mine, to go live on farms and work. Is that your commitment?
I would have to hear that recording because
Well, I have the recording.
I have no memory of saying anything like that.
Yeah, well, I actually have the recording that I can give to you, but it is absolutely what you said. And if you want me to play it, I can play
But
it.
if you ask me what my opinion is, I do not believe that every Black kid should be reparented on a wellness farm or whatever, and I have never believed that.
Well, you said it, sir. I have the video here. In fact,
I'm
you're
telling you, I don't believe it. That's not my vision for our country.
Well,
or
I'm
for the
glad
Black
because it was
community.
ignorant to say, it was dangerous, and it was irresponsible.
Well, if I said it, I apologize, but I'd have to see the transcript.
This isn't hard, doctor. Can men get pregnant? Yes or no?
Again, I would be more than happy to have a conversation with you that is not coming from a place of trying to be polarized and push.
I'm not trying to be polarizing. I'm trying to ask. I think it is extraordinary that we are here in a hearing about science and about women. And for the record, it's women who get pregnant, not men.
It also,
We are here about the safety of women and science that shows that this abortion drug causes adverse health events in 11% of cases. That's 22 times greater than the FDA label, another fact you haven't acknowledged. And yet you won't even acknowledge the basic reality that biological men don't get pregnant. There's a difference between biological men and biological women. I don't know how we can take you seriously and your claims to be a person of science if you won't level with this on this basic issue. I thought we were past all of this, frankly. I can't believe we're still here talking about this.
I am a person of science, and I'm also someone here who's here to represent the complex experiences of my patients, and I don't think polarized language or questions serve that goal. I don't think they serve the American people.
It is not polarizing to say that there is a scientific difference between men and women, and I want this to be clear and for the record. It is not polarizing to say that women are a biological reality and should be treated and protected as such. That is not polarizing, that is truth. It is also, by the way, the United States Constitution, which offers unique protections to women in a variety of circumstances as women. And your refusal to recognize women as women and men as men is deeply corrosive to science, to public trust, and yes, to constitutional protections for women as women. And I think it's extraordinary that you would sit here and advance a political agenda that has been thoroughly discredited and rejected by the American people in this forum. And I'm glad we had this exchange because it is exceptionally clarifying. It is also in many ways quite depressing. I see that my time has nearly expired. I just want to thank the other witnesses for being here. Thank you for protecting women and children. Thank you for your valiant efforts. Thank you for following the science. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this hearing.
Senator Alsobrooks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I would be remiss if I didn't start by saying I heard my colleague, very passionately talk about the fact that this is about the safety of women. I want to make it clear that this administration and this secretary could care less about women, men, or children. In fact, they don't care about humans. And I want to be very clear. I could go down and delineate how that is true, but that is not the subject of today's hearing. But for the past year, we have all watched Secretary Kennedy and this administration peddle conspiracy theories and junk science to dismantle public health structures in this country. So I don't want anyone lecturing about the safety of women. These people don't care about humans. Last week, in fact, we saw the latest example with Kennedy recklessly eliminating the CDC's recommendation for a number of critical childhood vaccinations, and very alarmingly, including the flu shot. In the midst of a flu, basically a surge in a super flu, this is the moment that this man decides to eliminate the flu shot for children as a recommendation. Just like with the pediatric vaccine schedule, changing the rules on FDA-approved drugs without scientific input, legitimate evidence on safety risk, or transparency will cause, we know, unnecessary fear for patients. RFK's same playbook is being used to target mifepristone, a safe and effective medication that has been approved by the FDA for over 25 years. Now, take all of the fear-mongering and truths that RFK spewed earlier last year about measles, mumps, and rubella vaccines, and take the fact that RFK agreed to reopen the case on mifepristone this fall, conducting its own very fake review of the evidence of safety and efficacy of this drug. That review was based in part on a study released last summer by the Ethics and Public Policy Center. Now, Dr. Verma, as a practicing physician, I would imagine that you read peer-reviewed research and journals fairly regularly. Is that correct?
Yes, I do.
And is the Ethics and Public Policy Center a peer-reviewed or rigorous medical journal?
It is not. That is a policy paper that you are referring.
This hearing is a masterclass in how to hold a cabinet nominee accountable for his words, his actions, and his policies. Senator Angela Alsobrooks did not rely on rhetoric. She relied on receipts. She brought the transcripts, the recordings, the facts. And she exposed the contradictions in the nominee's testimony with surgical precision. She came to this hearing knowing exactly what she was going to ask, and she did not let him off the hook for a single moment. The result is a devastating cross-examination that left the Secretary of Health and Human Services unable to defend his own record. The first issue Alsobrooks tackled was the reparenting comment. This was not a minor gaffe. It was a statement that revealed a deeply troubling worldview. Kennedy had suggested that Black children on ADHD medication should be reparented on wellness farms. He said every Black kid is now just standardly put on Adderall, SSRI, and benzodiazepines, which are known to induce violence, and that those children are going to have to go somewhere to get reparented. Alsobrooks asked him if he had ever parented a Black child. He said he didn't even know what that phrase meant. She pressed him. Yes or no? He said he doubted he said that phrase. She said he absolutely said it. He said he would like to hear the recording. She said it doesn't make sense. He said he didn't know what it meant either. She pointed out that he is not a doctor, has no medical degree, has no formal medical training, and has never parented a Black child. And yet, he is suggesting that the federal government should take Black children away from their families and send them off to some wellness farm instead of providing them with evidence-based care. He said she was making stuff up. She read the transcript. He still wouldn't admit it. The exchange is devastating because it reveals a fundamental disconnect between Kennedy's rhetoric and reality. He claims to be a champion of children's health, but he is proposing to remove Black children from their families based on a conspiracy theory about ADHD medication. He claims to be a person of science, but he cannot provide any evidence that this policy would help anyone. He claims to be a reformer, but he is proposing to dismantle the very systems that keep children safe. Then Alsobrooks asked the question that should have been the easiest of the entire hearing. Can men get pregnant? Yes or no? Kennedy refused to answer. He said he would be happy to have a conversation that is not coming from a place of trying to be polarized. Alsobrooks said she's not trying to be polarizing. She said it is extraordinary that they are in a hearing about science and about women, and for the record, it is women who get pregnant, not men. She said it is not polarizing to say that there is a scientific difference between men and women. She said she doesn't know how to take him seriously if he won't level on this basic issue. The exchange highlights the fundamental problem with Kennedy's approach to science. He claims to be a person of science, but he refuses to acknowledge basic biological facts. He claims to want a nuanced conversation, but he will not answer a simple yes or no question. He claims to be protecting women's health, but he cannot say that men do not get pregnant. That is not nuance. That is evasion. It is also a political liability. The vast majority of Americans believe that biological reality matters. They believe that women are women and men are men. They believe that only women can get pregnant. Kennedy's refusal to acknowledge that basic fact makes him look out of touch and untrustworthy. Then Alsobrooks turned to the vaccines. Kennedy had tweeted that the hepatitis B vaccine at birth is a crime. This is not a fringe position. It is a dangerous conspiracy theory. Hepatitis B is a serious disease that can be transmitted from mother to child during birth. The vaccine is safe and effective. It has saved countless lives, and Kennedy called it a crime. Alsobrooks asked him to explain. Kennedy said he supports vaccines. He said they save lives. He said he believes in the safest vaccine schedule in the world. He said there's a nuanced conversation that American families are looking to have. Alsobrooks said she would vote against his nomination because his views are dangerous to her state and to the country. The contradiction is glaring. He tweets that a life-saving vaccine is a crime. Then he says he supports vaccines. He cannot have it both ways. And Alsobrooks did not let him pretend otherwise. She did not let him hide behind nuance. She asked him to explain why a life-saving vaccine is a crime. He could not, because there is no good explanation. Then Alsobrooks turned to the funding. Kennedy had cut funding and staff from the CDC's National Center on Birth Defects and Developmental Disabilities, which supports the Special Olympics. He said they switched those programs to the Administration for Healthy America. Alsobrooks said the funding has been cut. He said they have not cut the Special Olympics. She asked him to name which office the Safe to Sleep campaign operates out of. He said the Administration for Children and Families. She said no, actually, it's the National Institute of Child Health and Human Development, the one named after Eunice Kennedy Shriver, the one he fired every single person in as of April 1st. He said there were no working scientists fired. She said they can bring him the information later because what he just said is not true. The pattern is clear. Kennedy claims to be cutting waste and inefficiency, but he is cutting programs that save lives. He is firing scientists who do the work. He does not even know which office runs the Safe to Sleep campaign, a 30-year program that prevents babies from dying in their sleep. He is not reforming the system. He is dismantling it. Then Alsobrooks turned to his conflicts of interest. He had received compensation from companies that have been investigated by the FDA. He had promoted products in his newsletter that contained neurotoxins. He was railing against pharmaceutical companies for advertising products that mislead the public, yet he was doing the same thing. He said he had been cleared by the Office of Government Ethics. She said the point is that he has received compensation from these companies, and they have been investigated, and he is doing the same thing he criticizes. The hypocrisy is stunning. Kennedy claims to be fighting Big Pharma, but he is taking money from companies that make products that make people sick. He is promoting those products in his newsletter. He is doing exactly what he accuses pharmaceutical companies of doing. And when confronted with that fact, he hides behind the Office of Government Ethics. He does not deny the compensation. He does not explain why he promotes products that contain neurotoxins. He does not apologize. He deflects. Then Alsobrooks turned to the shutdown. She said the Republican majority has the keys to the kingdom. They control the White House, the Senate, and the House. Their refusal to come to the table in good faith is an abdication of duty. She said hundreds of thousands of civil servants have been either furloughed or forced to work without pay. She said the Office of Management and Budget has used this shutdown as an opportunity for open and blatant worker retaliation. She quoted Russell Vought, who said he wanted workers to feel so traumatized that they would not want to come to work each day. She asked if it is illegal for an employer to threaten employees with a loss of pay to coerce them during a lawful labor dispute. The witness said yes. She said this is intended to hurt her constituents. The shutdown is not an accident. It is not a failure of negotiation. It is a strategy. The administration wants to make federal workers suffer. They want to make them quit. They want to replace them with loyalists, and they are doing it in plain sight. Then Alsobrooks turned to Kennedy's fundraising. His failed presidential campaign has been raising money to cover debts. She asked how much has his campaign made fundraising off of this administration's complete disregard for the workforce at HHS. He said 0. She entered into the record 2 emails from this week and the week before regarding fundraising that he is currently doing through his presidential campaign. The record shows that Kennedy is fundraising off of his position. He is using his role as secretary to raise money for his failed campaign. That is not just unethical, it is corrupt. Finally, Alsobrooks turned to Kennedy's comments about race and vaccines. She played a clip from an interview where he said, "We should not be giving black people the same vaccine schedule that's given to whites because their immune system is better than ours." She asked him to explain. He said there's a series of studies that show that blacks have a much stronger reaction to particular antigens. She asked what different vaccine schedule she should have received. He said the Poland article suggests that blacks need fewer antigens. She said this is the same measles vaccine. Mr. Kennedy, with all due respect, that is so dangerous. Your voice would be a voice that parents would listen to. That is so dangerous. I will be voting against your nomination because your views are dangerous to our state and to our country. He said this is published, peer-reviewed studies. She said she would vote against him. The exchange is the most important part of the hearing. Kennedy is proposing a different vaccine schedule for black people. He is basing that proposal on a fringe study that has not been replicated. He is ignoring the consensus of the medical community. He is using his position as secretary to promote a dangerous idea, and when confronted with that fact, he hides behind peer-reviewed studies. He does not explain why the medical community disagrees with him. He does not explain why the CDC recommends the same vaccine schedule for everyone. He does not explain why black children should receive fewer vaccines. He deflects. Alsobrooks did not let him get away with it. She called his views dangerous. She said she would vote against his nomination. She made it clear that his views are not just wrong, they are harmful. Alsobrooks did not back down. She asked the questions. She read the transcripts. She exposed the contradictions. She held the administration accountable. And she made it clear that she will vote against this nomination because these views are dangerous to her state and to the country. She was right, and she proved it. The American people deserve better than a secretary who cannot answer basic questions about his own agency. They deserve better than a secretary who promotes products that contain neurotoxins while claiming to fight Big Pharma. They deserve better than a secretary who cuts programs that save babies' lives and then denies that he did it. They deserve better than a secretary who cannot say that biological men do not get pregnant. They deserve better than a secretary who proposes a different vaccine schedule for black people. And they deserve better than an administration that uses a government shutdown to punish federal workers. Senator Alsobrooks did her job. She asked the questions. She exposed the truth. And she made it clear that she will not be silent.